Hello, everyone. This is Amit Saluja. I head the NASSCOM Center at Gandhinagar. And today we are going to have a very exciting discussion. And this very much aligns with the challenges that the industry is facing. Like we are talking about the digitization. And over the last few years, the acceleration has really happened. But what it is happening is while we are seeing good results, but there are always some challenges that also comes through while the digital initiatives gets executed. Now, in today's discussion, we will try to talk about those challenges, why those challenges happens, what we could do about that, and then are there any tools or solutions which are available which can help the teams who are executing the digital projects? Because these challenges happens because there are always resource constraints are there. Sometimes resources are not available at the same location. We are working in a complete global environment where resources are always at multiple places. We have always the budget challenges that comes up. So while those digital initiatives gets executed, there are always we need to kind of and maintain the budgets that we have. So these are some of the things that we'll talk about. We will also talk about maybe what are the do's and don'ts while we are executing those digital initiatives. So, and I'm extremely pleased to welcome Sandeep Kumar here. He's the founder and CEO of ProductDossier Solution. Sandeep, pleasure to have you here to talk with us. And I'm really looking to learn a lot from you today. So while we start our discussion, I think let's talk first about the overall culture or the process that the companies follow when they drive the digital initiatives. I think everyone talks about right now that we need to be agile. Agile has become the mantra. Agile has become the buzzword. But is company are really agile? I mean, there is always yes or no's that will come in. And while the companies become agile, then what about the stability part of it? Correct? I mean, you could always lose out on the stability while you are becoming more agile. So before we even talk about how do companies manage it, but let's basically talk about what are your kind of recommendations for the companies who are looking to make their organizations agile. And when you say agile, basically, obviously, these companies are working. These are the IT companies who are working for their global clients, implementing digital initiatives. So they need to be agile and to ensure that the solutions that they are implementing at their customers end need to be an agile solution. So what would be your advice on that?
Sure. Thank you, Amit, for having me on this show today. Just before I answer your question, so as a company, our company, we basically help companies and especially IT companies digitize their processes, what we call that as a opportunity to cash process. So we help them digitize that, and then there are several benefits. So what you are asking, and I'll talk more about our company as we go on, but what you are asking is a very interesting question, that how do you make more agile? Is this a discussion agile versus stability? And so my personal take on this is, if you want to be agile, right, you have to put your house in order. Only if your house is in order, you will be able to respond in an agile manner. Just like, if you are an organized person in your own life, you have all the information, and then somebody calls you and says, look, this is wrong information or anything, you are able to respond because all the information is at your fingertips, and then you are able to take a very responsive. So in my mind, if one wants to be agile, then they have to put their house in order, and there is no other way of putting your house in order than to go for digitalization. Once you have that, and then you cannot believe that I said that, the information is available at your fingertip, because when you want to be agile, you need that, and you need it now, and you need it accurate. Second, you should have, you can't be in firefighting mode, because if you are in firefighting mode, then you cannot be agile. That is chaos. So if you have more time, if you have things organized, then the leadership or anybody will have more time to listen to the customers, to respond to them in an agile manner. And when you bring in, the agility with the right information, with the stability, that's where the magic happens. And another thing, what basically agile, we should not first of all confuse this, that either you can have agility or stability. If you have processes, you can't be agile. I have heard many times people say, oh, this is a large company, and you know how things happen in a large company. But I feel you need a combination. You can't be agile and having no control, right? Like, for example, one of our customer, if all salespeople, what they want to do, they want to start the project without getting the formal purchase order from the customer, right? And they call it agility, customer responsiveness, and all that. But imagine if I don't have a purchase order and I continue to work month after month, kind of risk my organization is getting into. So I would say I would work for, pre-contract work for my project. But at the same time, if I have processes in place, the visibility is there that, my risk is increasing per month and there is a cutoff. After that, the CFO doesn't allow me to do that.
No, absolutely. So I think what you're saying is agility and process goes hand in hand. You can't, so I think maybe let's say that agility is also a process. So while we are saying that, we will continuously transform, we will do based on incremental improvement, but obviously, we can't move away from the processes, and because processes are there to kind of structure us. But I think since there has to be a balance. Now let's talk about why some of the digital initiative fails. So in India, there are all the global companies that we are implementing the projects. And obviously, everyone would want to make their customers successful. The teams are working together. I think every organization has their own process of way to work. And but still, I think there are always a situation where some kind of an issues happens while those projects are getting executed, which may cause some delays, which may happen that so initially what we would have expected, it didn't turn out the same thing that happened at the later stage, maybe in between some requirement changes or some kind of budget constraints came up. So there will always be some hiccups that will happen while the digitization is moving around, and digitization is a journey, right? So while you are on a journey, you will have a lot of roadblocks which will come up, which you would have never even anticipated, right? So what kind of you and your organization works with a lot of these IT organizations who are driving the digital projects. I'm sure they would have told you the kind of roadblocks that they have seen, right? So you would like to talk about some of those roadblocks, what companies face, or what they tell you that why digitization initiatives, some of which, didn't perform so well, or why they didn't make so much good money, or maybe sometimes their customers were not happy. So, we are looking for why those things happens.
Sure. So, yeah, we have worked with many companies, and my personal observation is, and I have seen also initiatives not being so successful and very successful, and every time I found only one reason, and that is the leader. We have heard all this quote, right? Success is just round the corner. But the problem is that we never reach that corner. We just drop our hats off just before. So I have seen that, the leadership, it is basically they are responsible for, and if they have belief and they, stand like a rock, that I have to make this initiative a success. There may be changes or, on the way, but there is, if we have taken the right decision. So if there is a leader and, he plans out, the blueprint is very clear that I want to get there. And then it's up to the leader how soon the leader quits. It is not the digital. You can always make changes, improvements, everything. That is all acceptable. But quitting is where the failure comes. And there is a huge, I would say mindset cost of the failure, because once you fail, then you don't take the same initiative for next few years. And you always say, look, we did, but we failed. So it can't be successful. Now, why the initiative fails? For one thing is that you have really not thought through the entire blueprint. Like, it is not very hard to make a blueprint for your digitization. You're not going to do everything on day one, but at least running it in your mind that, today I am here, I need to do A, B, C, and D. And once I am in the final state, this is what it looks like. So that is an extremely important exercise. I'm not saying that everybody can get it 100% on day one, but 80-20 rule, I think 80% is not very difficult. That is number one. Number two is that, you have to take small steps. Enjoy, and then experience the success and then build on the next step with your learnings. That way, what will happen is, you are not doing one big bang. You are basically taking a small step, making it successful, gives you and the entire team a very big, that achievement kind of feeling. And then you apply the learnings, do the next step. And that way, I think the chances of success is very high, rather than you commit for a very huge investment upfront, very unrealistic sort of thing. And then it bombs, and then, this is. So that is my number two. Number three, I think, is very important. Digitization fails is because we are always thinking about the technology. We are never thinking about the people. Technology by itself is, if people don't use it, then it doesn't work. So organizations are not focusing on building the digital culture. They are not focusing on people change management. They are just, thrusting it upon people. And then, there is a pushback from the people, and it kind of fails. So it is very important that while we choose the best technology, we also work equally well on building the digital culture, making people part of it. When do people use the technology? When they think that they have built it, not some glorified consultants coming from outside and teaching, this is how you have to do. That doesn't work in real life. You have to make them feel, look, they have built this digital initiative and they are responsible for it. And that is where, that ownership thing, it is such a simple common sense concept. And in my mind, that is extremely important. A good leader who stands like a rock, it is going to work. That is number one. Number two, I said the blueprint in your mind, but small execution, step-by-step execution on the ground, keeping, the blueprint always in mind. And the third, culture building, taking people along. So this is, these are the three reasons why I think many initiatives fail.
I think so. No, these are three great points. And if I really have to drill down, I think what I still see is you talked about the blueprint. I think this is, and the second is the execution. So maybe a lot of people will understand or appreciate, because these are the things that somewhere they have come across. But I think the most difficult, it is the culture and the change management that you talked about. I think for me, that's the key. Yeah. And that's where I think, personally, I feel that's where I'll see a lot of things kind of feeling out. So can we talk more about that? The third one, what do we do to kind of fix those issues there? How do we bring out a environment where the cultural changes are handled better, and then in fact changes are handled better? I think no one wants to change. And we all know that. We have listened, change is the only way, which remains constant, but still no one wants to change. So I think there's a tussle which keeps kind of happening now. And and I personally have seen a lot of organizations where digitization initiatives are going on. People always have some kind of an apprehensions. Oh, will I get tracked now? Will will the results that were will the investment that is happening, will it really brings the results? So let's talk more about the change management and the culture bringing them, and what companies should be doing to fix this.
Absolutely. I mean, this is a and it is there are no sort of black and white things that I can do to build culture. Like each organization is very different. But what organizations can do, as I said, we have to, like when we are sort of getting onto this journey, you have to get people along and you have to communicate with people that why are we doing it. Today, I don't think people question that, digitalization is needed or not. Like even every employee understands it is required. And like you said, even in people, right, there are different kind of viewpoints. Some people are a little bit worried that now everything will become very transparent. Some people, that is one worry. Second, people are not able to sort of adapt to the technology or the change in the behavior and everything. So this is another thing. So what I think, it starts with the communication. When you are getting on to this journey, you have to take people along. And there are different levels of people, right? So there is a senior management, there is a middle management, and then there is the end user or, people, engineers. So you have to communicate with them that why we are doing it and how it will not just change the life of the organization, but what impact it will bring into their lives. How they will be able to, like, for example, one of the things I tell engineers is, you are an engineer. You are supposed to do the engineering work, right? That's what you are being hired for. But what you are doing data management. 70% of your time, you are collating information in Excel and giving to Mr. X, Mr. Y and all the time. Your manager is asking for data and you are doing that. So is this what you are hired for? So show them, why it is important and what positive change it will bring in their own lives. Right? So that is the number two. Number three, what you have to basically put for, and that is a fact also, that their own career growth, because when they are working with digitization, when my house is in order, right? So all the time, I'm not struggling for the basic information. I am able to now think of the next level of problem. Right? So imagine as my own career graph, because now I am involved in the next, I'm taking to the management next level of problems. So all of these things we have to communicate very, and it has to come from the top. So that is number one. Number two, you have to be patient. You have to show empathy towards your users. Normally, what is the view today? Look, I spent $100,000. You better use it. That's not the way. Well, it is important that, we also communicate, look, we need to use it, but you have to give them some time. You have to do hand holding, and eventually they will pick up. So where I have seen the management style has been hard and soft in equal proportions. People sort of, they bought in the idea, and then over time, and you need few champions, right? The herd mentality. If I see my peers doing it, the early adopters, so others will follow. So we have to sort of focus on those 20% of the population who is more, wanting to use it. And you will always find that 20%. Focus on them, make them the champions. And, also you have to reward people. Our focus is all the time on people who are not performing. I personally believe that's a wrong way of looking at people. You have to focus on people who are performing. So you start rewarding those 20%, and you will see the magic. The others will not only fall in line, they will have a sort of, they also have to do it. So I think there are many things, these small things we can do. And in the end, this is the worst mistake people can do, is that, you bring in some consultants from outside. They will have big designations, big, the company tags and all. And they sort of preach, look, this is what value, this is X value, Y value you will derive. I think we have to be more grounded, and people do understand when you make them the owner, they should feel it's not the initiative of the organization, or maybe it was the initiative, but they made it happen.
Yeah.
When you get that feeling, then I think your job is done.
I think, yeah, and maybe I'll add a few points to that. I think what you said was terrific, and maybe I think one more thing is again, I mean, that's something which we keep saying is, I think everyone should know the purpose, right? And there was an example where like there was a guy who was basically putting up the bricks, and then people asked, "What are you doing?" Someone said, "I'm putting up the bricks." And someone says that I'm just creating a room, and someone said that yes, I'm trying to build a house where people will come and then stay here. So they know the purpose of what they are doing, right? So I think that's also kind of, and maybe it will help if there is kind of an more awareness about what people are doing, why they are doing, and what kind of an impact it will lead to. So a lot of times people even don't realize the impact or the benefit that it will come. They just do it, right? So maybe that's
absolutely. I mean, what you said is absolutely right. I'll give you one incident where, one of our customer, they said to their people, to their project manager community, look, you are no longer the project manager. You are actually the CEO of your projects. And your job is to make it more profitable, make your customer deliverables more impactful. So the whole mindset changed. The moment you say you are the CEO, and then, they stop thinking that they are the project managers.
Absolutely. So I think let's maybe shift gears. So you talked about communications. You talked about users, correct? So those are the two things we picked up. And then till now, what we were talking were more around the internal tussle that kind of happens. Let's see the linkage with the external environment, right? So when an organization is working now, so I mean, say a IT company implementing a digital projects, they are interfacing with their customers. They will be interfacing with few other partners also with whom they are working while doing the implementation, right? So it is not a situation where someone just in their own factory or environment builds up a product, goes to the customer and just goes and deployed it. There are a lot of back and forth other communication that happens, and there are a lot of communication which will happen between the other partners of the company also. So under this environment where those external interfaces are there, and each company will have their own way of work, their own processes. So a lot of times this integration might not be easy. So there could be a communication gap between, say, customers and the company or the partners. And then again, communication gaps is the worst thing that can happen for a project, right? So under this environment where there are a lot of external communications happens, what is your recommendation for the teams who are actually delivering the projects?
Yeah, I think what you said is, first of all, the word partnership, right? So organizations have to realize, that, you work with people. You have to work in a real partnership mode. Not just like you have to treat them as a vendor or anything, because you have to understand that those partners you are working, their job is 24/7 thinking of solutions like this, right? So in fact, they are in a very good place where they have a lot of deep domain knowledge. And if you really work with them, because today everybody is focused on success. If in my experience, most of our customers, right from the beginning, I would say, and more so after they started seeing success, they sort of rely on us today to bring in what more we can do. In fact, most of the leadership I talk to of our customers, they say, Sandeep, you have to advise me, you have to, suggest me, what can I do next? Because you are talking to 50 other customers on a daily basis. So your ideas would have much more, wider range than what I can think of or my team can think of. Right. So I think this is very important. And again, it's a part of the culture. I would say, how, if you treat your vendor as, okay, you have done the work, now this is the money you get and that's it. But I think, and also in my mind today, our customers have hired very expensive resources and all that, but they really value us because of we are thinking 24/7 about it. So our knowledge is, much deeper than anybody, because, and we have done it. It's not that it is just the bookish knowledge. We are doing it every single day. So that is, I think, as a part of your culture, you have to really make them feel that they are your partners. Normally, I feel most of the companies have this attitude, look, he's just a vendor, you have a contract, you have done it like that, and then that's it. But I think the partner stays much more than with the organization than their own employees, because employees can come. So that is a very important step you have to do. And today, also in that is a little bit off what you asked, but like customers, right? Today, customers are also looking at, when they're selecting a vendor and all those, they are looking at what sort of digitalization you have done. How are your processes? Because once you have those kind of processes, then they can be at least on paper assured of a certain level of quality. If you don't have processes and only the agility, it's a recipe for disaster. So I would say, I think you have to really have that cultural thing in treating them as partner and long-term value creators rather than just as vendors.
Excellent. And let's talk about one more factor, I think, which I see creates issues. So a lot of time the budget gets overrun. We see we have planned something, taken approval, but it kind of doesn't happen. And I think this is a situation a lot of time happens. This is not just kind of an occasional. So what to do so that when we do a project, we do a project in the budgets. In fact, there are instances where I've seen, some people, while they are planning, they say, okay, if we need, say, $50,000 for this, let's kind of put a 10% kind of a margin, and that's how they start planning. And the reason is because a lot of time budget overrun happens. So they start planning for the overrun also. But I think which is not the right way. So what is your advice on what companies should do so that they are able to execute the projects in the budgets that they have set? And then maybe what even can be done so that projects budgets can be reduced. In fact, some savings happens while during the project.
Correct. Absolutely. So I will answer your question in more what we are doing to our customer, like IT services industry. So they do projects for their customers, right? And every project kind of overruns. And that is why my profitability comes down. And why that happens? So there are two reasons for it. Mainly, one is, what budget you have taken. First of all, is that the number you can believe in, you can really execute? Are you confident about it? So it goes back to then the estimations, that how you have estimated. Because most of the time, when we want to start a project, we do some back of the hand calculation or some Excel sheet. And that time itself, we miss out on certain cost categories, right? Because there is no formal process or even some sort of a guiding template and things like that. So that is the first problem we may have. And the second problem when we overrun out of a project is, when we are spending money, is it getting controlled by the budget we have? Very often what I have seen, budget is just a sort of a exercise which you have to do because everybody does it. But when we are spending money, we really don't look at that. that, only at the end of, few months, then when there is some reconciliation, we realize we are running. But imagine if, all the money I'm spending in, like one of our customer, when they are allocating resources to their project, their budget gets deducted.
Yeah.
So if they are taking all the expensive resources in their project, that time itself, the software sort of warns them, if you are going to take these 5 resources, you are going to run mixed resources. You take some very good resources, higher experience, take some, mid-level and some junior. So that is how basically, if you follow this kind of thing, your estimations are right. And when you are spending money, you have an eye on your, what is the available budget, and then things will fall in place. Still, you may have to have a increase in your budget, etc. But there is a good thing that over time, I think this exercise will become a culture in your organization. And then, like you said, people will start delivering, because now you are the CEO of your project. And you will start thinking that, how do I make this additional 5% project margin? And that's where the reward is.
Yeah, great. This is actually great conversation. I mean, where we started was that, I mean, we started with the change management. We started with the culture. We went to the communication. I think there's a lot that we have talked about, and I'm just kind of watching the time also. So let's kind of summarize on where we feel that some of the recommendations that we have for our listeners today. So I mean, if I summarize, I mean, it's all about like bring an environment where cultures, changes in the cultures are well taken care of. Communication is something which is kind of an extremely important. I mean, unless that adequate communication happens between the leadership and the team who's kind of developing, I think otherwise the things doesn't help. We are from an external point of view, we are looking for an companies with whom we are working, they need to be treated as a partners, correct? It is not just kind of in one of the organizations we are working, and that's where again the communications comes up. So it was a fantastic discussion. I mean, I think we couldn't get time to talk about some of the ways those things can be managed through the tools and the solutions that could be possible. But maybe just in a minute, if you want to summarize, I mean, if are there any tools or solutions, or maybe the way you are helping your customers, I mean, something you want to talk about?
Yeah, absolutely. Like you said, digitalization is a journey. First of all, you have to have a blueprint for the future, but take step-by-step approach. And today there are tools available now, and what you need to look for is that whatever you are investing in, that it is for long term. It is not like a short term thing, because short term things do you more harm than benefit. So there are tools available where, like for example, we are working with our customer, and we have a PSA tool, professional services automation tool, ProductDossier PSA, where we digitize the entire opportunity to cash process, where your proposal estimations, your resource management, your project management, and your project financials, they are all sort of digitized, and then they can be integrated with CRM on the left-hand side and ERP on the right-hand side. So there are definitely a lot of tools available. What people need, they don't need so much of a point solution. What they need is a software which can give them the best of both worlds, out of the box and yet tailor-made, right? So this is very, very important. And you, along with the tool, you also need to partner with people who understand this space, because they bring in a wealth of knowledge, the knowledge which you will spend tons of time and money to acquire that. So please leverage on that. Look for people who have done it, learn from them, and then find your own path. So that would be my suggestion, Amit, to our audience today.
Great. Thank you very much. It was pleasure talking to you today. I mean, I personally learned a lot. I mean, I think there's so much of a different aspects you have kind of and talked about, and you could bring out your whole experience of working with the companies who are implementing digital projects. So, and I think all of these are the great insights for our audience today. So, appreciate you taking out time. Thank you very much for joining us. And we look forward to kind of talking on the same subject again, or maybe some other topic. But it was a real pleasure talking to you.
Sure, Amit. Thank you so much. Thanks for your time, and wish you and our audience a very happy Deepavali. Thank you so
Yeah,
much.
happy Diwali to you also and to our audience.
Thank you.
Thank you.